First training vlog for 2021. I'm about to start a new training block next week. So I've just come to the end of my last training block that was roughly 6 weeks long. It maybe spilled over into 7 weeks due to Christmas, New Year's, spending time with family, not training as much as I previously had, and just enjoying some downtime really. How do I feel after last block? I feel like I've made some great progress. I'm happy with my progressions on my one arm chin work, on my handstand push-ups. Lower body strength has been good, mobility's been good. I feel there's been lots of great results coming from this last 6 weeks of training. What have I learnt in this last 6 weeks? I probably overdid a little bit of the pushing stuff. So the program with the eccentric handstand push-ups and the weighted chin-ups probably should have had some horizontal rows, or definitely some work to stretch out the anterior delt after the heavy pushing session. After 6 weeks of that, my left shoulder was just a little bit sore, and you probably could have done that a little bit better. There was some rotator cuff work in there, but probably not enough trap 3 stuff. So next block, definitely some trap 3 work, definitely some horizontal rows, but I'll talk to you about that in my next vlog. 2 points I want to sort of cover in this vlog. So a little bit off the training program, but 2 important things I think worth mentioning. One I'm going to talk about is gradual overload. And the other one I'm going to talk about is sort of knowing your goals, which I think is quite relevant for this time of the year. So let's start with the gradual overload. When I used to own a gym, I ran a gym for a good 4.5 years, I'd often see clients lifting too heavy. And although the program was written to, sub-maximal loads and not to chase the weight, there would always be people adding too much weight to the bar, performing, partial repetitions, and just really struggling with bad form because of the load being way too much. I think we need to look at how the professionals train. If we look at professional powerlifters, we look at professional strongman, we look at professional Olympic weightlifters, they rarely lift heavy. Everything they do in their training is between 65 and maybe 85% tops. And the only time they're really going to go above that is in competition. They manage to build strength, and they manage to write a program that's going to help them perform at their best without lifting maximal loads. When you do lift maximal loads, it takes a long time for the body to recover. I'm talking weeks for the nervous system to recover. So if we're always trying to lift maximal weight, we're always having a downstream impact on our training for the weeks ahead. So this is going to impact our strength, which is something we've obviously got to be mindful of. Also, when we start lifting heavy loads, obviously there's going to be a form breakdown. Obviously, we're going to start to get to that peak of, what the body's capable of, which in reality is not a quality repetition. Although we can be testing it or we can be competing at this heavy load, it shouldn't be a part of training. Are you training or are you testing? So we've got to learn to think about using sub-maximal loads for most of our training, and rarely should we be pushing out to these maximal loads and testing. I think it's a common mistake that most people make, and it has an impact on their strength progressions. So we think about sub-maximal loads, we think about greasing the groove, we think about the quality of the movement, okay? Always think that half reps don't count. A failed rep doesn't count, okay? If you're lifting too much weight that you're not completing successful repetitions, or you're completing repetitions with bad form, then you may as well not have done the repetition at all. We've got to think about the training block and the objective of the training block. So if we've got a training block that lasts for 6 weeks, in weeks 1, 2, and 3, we're definitely going to be lifting sort of a light to medium weight, a weight that we're comfortable with, a weight that we know we can perform this movement with perfect form. And then as we start to approach the tail end of the block, we might try to peak in week 5 or week 6, depending on the objective of the block and if there's a deload in this block or the start of the next block. So we've got to be careful that we don't start too high. In week 1, we've got to be careful that we sort of start at a reasonable load that we're going to be able to progress. So gradual increases each week is a great way to cause adaptation in the body, to help the body grow stronger and not to apply so much load that the body's going to fatigue. So we start light and we gradually try to build. So plan maybe what you want to lift in week 6, and then calculate backwards from there what you're going to have to start on in week 1 so that you can continue to progress towards that target. Too much weight too soon just overloads the system, results in fatigue, and it results in a stall in our progress. So as an example, in week 1 of the last block, I was doing front rack split squats with 40 kilos on the bar for 10 reps each leg. By week 6, I was doing 6 reps at 60 kilos on each leg, and I felt like I could have done more. The quality of the repetitions was good, and I'm happy with that progress over that time. In my next block, I'm going to be doing more split squats because I think they're a great exercise, but this time I will back rack the bar. And 60 kgs is probably where I'm going to start now and continue to progress with that from that load into the next block. So that's another thing to think about. We don't have to reach our optimal sort of peak level in this one block. We can continue for 3, 4, 5 blocks and continue to see the weight climb if we're slowly progressing, which is obviously a better way on what I'm trying to recommend here. Another thing I want to talk about is, let's say in the archer chin up over this block, I was doing 1 rep at 15 kilos in week 3. The rep was good, but the speed on the concentric was slow, and my eccentric was not the 5 seconds that I was aiming for. So it sort of shows that maybe I wasn't quite ready for that load just then. I tested it, but thought, okay, this is not progressing the way I would like it to. So in weeks 4, 5, and 6, I didn't go above that 15 kilos, but the speed of the contraction did improve, and my ability to control the eccentric for 5 seconds also was met by week 5 and 6. So I think the take home from this is sort of 3 things I want to cover. The range of motion should dictate the load and not the other way around. The speed of the movement should dictate the load and not the other way around. The quality of the movement should dictate the load and not the other way around. The only exception to this would be during competition or during testing. But at all other times, we should prioritize the speed, the quality of the movement, and the range of motion over the load on the bar. If you want to get stronger, these should be your priority. So if I could offer any support or guidance for those looking to build strength in 2021, I would be saying to focus on the range of motion, focus on the quality of the movement, and to focus on the speed of the movement. If you can get these 3 things right, the load will take care of itself. You will definitely get stronger. If you want to chase the load, then chances are you're not going to see as much progression as you would focusing on those other 3 points, and you're going to probably increase your chances of injury. Try to keep most of your lifting between the 65 to 85% range, and obviously keep testing to a minimum. Once, twice, maybe 3 times a year at tops, you're going to think about testing. And obviously, if you're an athlete competing, you've got to take that into consideration. You don't want to be putting too much stress on the system when it's not competition time, and you really want to save your best performance for competition time. All right, the second thing I wanted to sort of cover in today's vlog is about knowing your goals. I think I've made this mistake for far too long, and it's taken me a long time to sort of come to this realization, but I was trying to train too many things at once. I was working on my handstand, my planche, my front lever, my one-arm chin, my handstand push-ups, my press to handstand, a stronger back squat, maintaining my deadlift, all these different things, chasing mobility. It was just too much. I was doing a little bit of everything, but not enough of anything. And it can be easy to be distracted by having so many goals and thinking that we can progress so many things at once. I'm going to say it's no good being the generalist. If you really want to get good at something, you need to focus and be a little bit more specific with your training, even if it's just for a short period of time. What are your goals right now? What are some short-term goals for the next 3 months? What are some things you'd like to get to? After spending 3 months working towards those goals, then you can potentially change that focus. I think sort of 3 months is a minimum commitment that you must put in towards a particular goal. And obviously, we have to be realistic about these goals. If you can't do a push-up right now, setting yourself a goal of doing a handstand push-up in 3 months is not realistic. If you can't do a handstand right now, then try to set a 60-second goal as a handstand in the next 3 months. That's just not realistic. And for people that tell you that it is, I'm going to say they're full of BS. So having a good understanding, being able to talk to someone who has achieved that goal and sort of have a respect or an understanding of what it actually takes to be able to reach that goal is something I do recommend. So if you've got goals in mind and you've got no idea whether they're realistic or not, then try to talk to someone who has those skills or who has been through that scenario so they can give you some insight into how long those goals will take. So being more specific with your goals and having fewer goals is going to help you progress faster. You can dedicate more of your training time to these specific goals and obviously be able to see greater progress. One of the best ways to stay accountable with your goals is to write them down, and then to add on top of that, if you share your goals with someone else, then they can also hold you accountable or question you with how these things are going. So that's a good place to start. If you're setting new goals for 2021 in terms of your health and fitness, write them down, make them specific, make them realistic, and share them with someone who is going to keep you accountable. So here goes. What are my goals? Here I am telling you to do it. I better stand up to the plate and share with you what I'm aiming for in 2021. Some of these goals I hope will come to me before the end of the year, and then I will reassess and create new goals off the back of that. But here are my goals for 2021. I'm going to aim to get my strict handstand push-up. So this is something I've been chasing for a while, and I've probably not committed enough to it. It needs to be a couple of times a week that I'm training this. So in the next training block, it's going to be a couple of times a week that I start to target this handstand push-up. The one-arm chin-up, I've come close before, but never actually got to it. So a one-arm strict chin-up on each arm is what I'm aiming for this year. I think that's probably going to take me most of the year to get to that. But if I can get to that in sort of 6, 7, 8 months, I'd be very happy. But let's see how that progress goes. At the moment, it's feeling quite good after the eccentric arches. Middle splits, calves to floor. Mobility is one of my biggest limitations. It's stopping me from achieving a lot of my goals in the gymnastics sort of stuff or the bodyweight training that I want to get to. So it's something I have to dedicate more time to. I've fiddled around with mobility in the past, but never really committed to it enough. So I want to learn more about it. I think it's very important. I think as we age, I'll be turning 40 this year. So as we age, I think we appreciate our ability to move, and we appreciate our mobility a lot more. So it's becoming more of a priority for me. So the first one is calves to floor middle splits. The next one is chest to floor pancake. This is going to also be a good one. They're going to help each other, and this is going to help me with my press to handstand goal. So I want to be able to do 5 reps of press to handstand. I can do press to handstand right now, but I would say the quality of the rep is not where I want it to be, and that's only due to mobility. I have the strength, but I just don't have the mobility to keep my legs straight at the moment, and that's due to the tight adductors, and that's due to the tight hamstrings, which the goal of middle splits and pancake will support. So these goals are all linked to each other, which obviously makes it a little bit easier to include. I also want to do a 60-second straight body handstand, so that's chin to chest. My best rep at the moment for that's probably only 15 seconds, and it's only something I've been training for a short time. I think one of my limitations in my handstand is just not opening the shoulders enough, and I feel that working on something like this straight body handstand with the chin tucked is going to give me a better sense of the weight under my hands, and it's also going to help me improve that shoulder position. We can get a little bit lazy and get away with that, I think, when we're looking at the floor with the eyes up, because we have that close reference point in terms of the balance. But when we start to tuck the chin and now we're looking up at the sky, that's sort of gone. So it's like closing your eyes or taking away one sense, and it makes us more sensitive to the other senses that we have. So it's going to be making me more sensitive to what's going on. Where is the weight under the hand? How am I controlling this? And obviously, if I can stack the joints, have the shoulder angle open a lot more, it's going to make that handstand a lot easier to hold. So these are my goals. There's probably 6 goals in there at the moment, and this is what I'm going to be able to structure my training week around. So I'm going to combine handstand training with the middle splits and pancakes. So 2 days a week of handstand training. One of those days will be with middle splits. One of those days will be with pancake. I'll have a bent arm strength day, which will focus on the handstand push-up and the one-arm chin. A lot of shoulder prehab stuff in there to really make sure the shoulders stay healthy with the stress that's going to be placed on them with those goals. The other one is the press to handstand goal, and the straight body handstand. Like I said, that'll be combined in with the mobility days. I don't really have a legs goal at the moment, but I am going to train legs, and the reason I'm going to train legs is just to obviously keep that lower body strong. I think a lot of the mobility stuff I'm going to be doing with the middle splits and with the pancake, is going to be placing a lot of stretching on those muscles, and I really also want to make sure that they stay strong so that they don't get injured. I think a common thing we see with people who do a lot of stretching, let's look at the yoga crowd, is there's a lot of injuries. Walk into any yoga class and you'll see that, or you'll hear that a lot of people have, different aches and pains, and a lot of yoga teachers will have different aches and pains. They spend a lot of time stretching the muscle, but not a lot of time strengthening the muscle. Also, what's the point of being mobile if you're not strong in that new range? If I can open up a new range of motion, I'm going to be quite weak there unless I can start to train that range of motion and strengthen that range of motion. So I think the legs work is really just to support my mobility goals. So I like a lot of unilateral stuff. I love split squats. I think they're a great exercise for everybody. They're both a stretching and strengthening exercise at once. They also target, all of the lower body muscles. We're talking calves, we're talking hamstrings, we're talking glutes, we're talking quads, we're talking tibialis, we're talking everything. So I think the split squat is something I definitely want to keep in my program. At the moment, living on the road, I don't have a squat rack, so it's I'm having to Olympic lift the bar and place it on front rack or back rack. Olympic lifting is not my goal. It's not where I want to spend my time. I can coach that. I have coached it before. I have had it as a goal in the past before, so I'm happy that I can do it. It's a tool that I can use to get the barbell to where I need it to be, but it's just not my focus. And if it was, I'd need to train it, 4 or 5 times a week if I wanted to get good at it. And this is what I mean about being sort of specific with your goals. So I hope you found this vlog useful, and you're going to take some time out to sort of think about your goals and what you want to accomplish this year with your training. You're going to write them down, and you're going to share them with a friend. Also hope that the talk about range of motion, the talk about speed of the bar, the talk about the quality of the movement over the load is something that you're going to think about this year if you're the type of person that has been chasing the weight in the past. I certainly hope that it's given you some sort of insight into how I approach my training, especially with my training blocks. I like to start, the training quite light and then just gradually progress as the block goes on, and to better witness progress, because I think, being able to make progress from week to week is going to help us stay motivated and keep us on the path of enjoying training. Whereas if we're feeling like we're failing and we're not making progress because we're just chasing way too much load, it can actually deter us from our training or be sometimes a negative. So there are lots of positives to come from just changing the focus. Okay, that's about it for this week. Next week I'll jump back on the vlog and I will talk to you a little bit more about my new training phase and where I'm going to start out with chasing these goals.